So on my channel, I really like to post gear reviews. I love building things. I love traveling. I've really enjoyed building out the van. I like collecting new gear. This is an alpaca Japanese limited edition mini tote that I think is really cool. And that'll probably find its way into a gear review here soon. But towards the beginning of the year, I really started to sit with myself more and realize that before gear, I really had to turn my attention towards my health and my fitness. And so it's this concept that I've been sitting with of fitness as your baseline EDC, right, for your everyday carry. And if you're a tradesperson and maybe your everyday carry, includes the right screwdrivers and the right wire cutters in a proper bag with everything organized, or if you're a first responder and you need to have your belt set up or your crossbody bag with the right medical tools, I think those all have their place. But even before then, even before you put a tool in your hand as a human, I think there's something to be said about making health and fitness your baseline EDC, where if you show up to a job site, if you show up to an active situation, that you as a person are ready to respond, that you're able to respond. My dad had a saying, and I'm sure he picked it up from somebody else, but being responsible is the ability to respond. And so stepping back from the gear, the physicality, the items, and really taking a look inside and asking yourself, well, what do I need to do to be better prepared as a person to be able to face these different situations? I think that there's a lot of merit to that. And so if you are thinking about, well, what's the cool gear that I need to get right now? What's everybody else collecting? Then I think that before then you need to take stock and ask yourself, well, where am I today? Mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, am I ready to be responsible if something does happen and I need to be there and respond to it? And so what does that look like? What have I done this year? First off, I found a lot of merit and utility in, and I've got another video that I'll post here soon about this, but the concept of the 12-week year, the book, The 12-Week Year. I think that there's so much to that. And one of the most powerful things, I've really adapted it to my own methodology. I don't follow the programmatic nature that they outline in the book, but being able to really focus on what can I reasonably accomplish in the next 12 weeks? Okay, what are my actual priorities? So for me this year, the first thing that I realized that I needed to do was decrease my fat. I had put on extra weight. It was uncomfortable. My indigestion had gotten to a point where my eating patterns just weren't in line with where I wanted them to be. I was eating for stimulus, to stave off feelings of discomfort. And so I recognized that that was the pattern that I had to address. And then by using this 12-week time box time frame and really honing in on what my priorities are, I was able to use that as an antidote to something else, another pattern that I've fallen into, where this completionist mindset, this almost like video game mentality of, well, if I'm gonna diet, then I should also go to the gym, and I also need to be able to go do jujitsu. And then if I'm already doing this self-improvement journey, then why don't I also take up drawing, and just adding on too much, as opposed to just really niching down and saying, well, what is the priority that I need to address right now, here in this moment? And that's going to be different, for all of us. But it is something that I see fairly often amongst my peers of, trying to boil the ocean and trying to build this fitness or this gear capability to address all issues, as opposed to focusing very squarely on just the priorities that you probably know, right? There's a stoic mentality to this whole thing where you probably know what you need to address right now. And I think that a lot of those core, that trifecta of sleep, nutrition, and exercise, if you can get even 2 of those dialed in, the third will surely follow, and they don't need to be complex. So I had a lot of success at the beginning of the year. On my 38th birthday at the beginning of the year, I was the heaviest I've ever been, and it was not a good heavy. It was a very uncomfortable heavy, driven by, again, just not the best eating patterns, not the best eating habits. And by focusing squarely on that, of just getting my diet in order, I was able to make a fantastic change within about 12 weeks. And then I carried it a bit further to great success. So by focusing on nutrition and then focusing on sleep, I was able to get to a point where, okay, now I can start to hone in on fitness. And again, in the past, fitness for me has been this completionist mindset of, well, I need to be fit enough to handle anything. And I think that a lot of that came from, again, a little bit of video games, but also I was a CrossFit instructor over 15 years ago. And at that time, I don't know what the culture is like now, but at that time, it was this idea of you really had to be just good at everything. And by simplifying my fitness these days and just focusing on longevity, resistance training, some calisthenics, I feel like I'm in a much better place to be able to respond to my day-to-day obstacles. Whether that's interacting with my kids, going out and playing sports with my friends, doing something at my kids' school. I think that I'm able to, using a good plan now, as opposed to trying to build this elaborate, perfect plan, fitness plan, I think that I'm much more able to respond to the world around me. If this resonates with you, I would offer that, some of the things that you need to do up front is take an account of where you are. Ask yourself, what is the actual health thing that I need to address today? Because you probably know. Choose one thing. It doesn't have to be diet and exercise per se. It might just be one of the two, and then build consistency around that, right? Do I need to get to the doctor? Is there underlying aches and pains that I just haven't gotten to, and I'm letting life get in the way of? And I really need to just find the right doctor. I might need to go through 2 or 3 doctors or more to finally get the answers that I need, but I need to carve out the time to address those, right? So diet, nutrition, am I building good bedtime habits? And then are there underlying medical needs that I haven't addressed that I should address? And I think that if you can time box at least a couple of those, and you can really hone in on no more than, I'd say, 2, and really just be consistent with those things, that it will enable the others to follow along, right? If you are eating clean, if you are exercising, or if you're getting a great night's sleep every night, then you're going to have more energy. You should be able to have more energy, right? There might be underlying medical circumstances that may make that very difficult, and I don't want to downplay those. So more often than not, by starting to get that trifecta in order, I suspect that you'll start to have more energy to address other things in your life. And then once you, as a person, are more fit, more healthy, then you're going to have that clear-mindedness when a situation does arise, when it may not even be life or death, right? It might just be a complex problem at work, something that needs urgent problem solving, you know, by being able to have that health, that fitness, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be able to approach that situation with a much clearer mind and be much more of an asset to that situation. And then I think that when you start to, you know, as they say, get your house in order, once you start getting your house in order, then it makes a whole lot of sense to start collecting the right gear. And it also gives you the practice as you're going through nutrition and fitness and sleep. You're probably going to have more repetitions to realize where the right gear fits in, as opposed to buying needlessly cool gear for the sake of buying it, and then not having a place to either put it into rotation or put it into good use. So I've got an upcoming video where I'm going to dive into how I addressed my recent weight loss. I was able to lose 30 pounds this year. At 5'8", 38 years old, I went from 190 pounds to 160, and I'm very proud of that. And, you know, spoiler alert, one of the big things is just being consistent with it, being consistent with your diet. But, you know, I've got a video coming up where I'll dive into that, because for me in this channel, it's all about my journey. It's not just traveling physically to other places and to seeing new places, but it's also making sure that as I travel there with my family, with my amazing family, that I can be present in that moment, that I can fully engage with the opportunities in front of me. And so I really think that that is a deeper part of that journey. And so if this is of interest to you, and if this video helped you thinking through how you can start to address fitness as your baseline everyday carry, then I'd invite you to subscribe. I'd invite you to comment down below of some of the questions that you might have as I do this short series on health, fitness, weight loss in your late 30s. You know, would love to get some feedback, would love to be able to have some questions that I can answer in those videos. But the next video that I'll post will probably be about, again, how I lost 30 pounds in my 30s. Less so about the diet side and more about the systems that worked for me. And then I'll do a short run of actual meal planning for a day for, you know, 1, 2, and 3 days of what my meals looked like in a day. And then, you know, still getting back into gear, still getting back into travel videos. I've got a full series planned about where the van is today, 5 years later after I bought it, and my first product launch. So if this is of interest to you, I would invite you to follow along. And if you've made it this far, thank you very much for your time and attention. I really appreciate it. And with that said, I hope to see you in the next video.